to Our Community, a show that's going to focus on events and topics relevant to our community right here on the Emerald Coast. I'm your host, Sabrina Bivins, and today joining me, I've got Mayor Anderson, the Mayor of Fort Walton. He's going to talk to us about a few of the things that he wants to highlight today, and then also Brenda Robinson's going to talk to you about how to become a foster parent. So thank you so much for tuning in. Hi, Mayor Anderson. How are you?
Doing great. And yourself?
I'm well, thank you.
Good.
I don't know if everybody knows how funny you are. No. I have to say that I was absolutely shocked when you returned my telephone call personally.
Yeah. Well, it's a small town, so I'm my staff.
Well, thank you so much for that. That was awesome.
Right.
I'm not sure everyone knows about Mr. Anderson, about Mike Anderson. Would you share a little bit about yourself with us?
Well, yeah, I grew up in Southern California, and then for those of folks who remember, the draft was around, and the draft came after me right as I was graduating from college. And so instead of being drafted into the Army, I was accepted into the Air Force Officer Training School, and one thing led to another. So I spent 20 years in the Air Force, and my last assignment happened to be here at Eglin Air Force Base. So my family and I, my wife and my two sons got here in 1979.
Wow.
And we really enjoyed the area. And so we had the opportunity to really get involved in the community. Both my boys, graduated from Kenwood and Pryor and Choctawhatchee High School.
Right.
And then my wife and I got involved in some of the programs there through the PTO, through coaching and things like that. And then we decided this is really a great place. And we live in Kenwood, which is really a neat community. It just surrounds the elementary school. And so we looked at each other when it came time to consider taking another assignment or just staying here. And I was able to retire and stay here. So we retired. And then after a couple little mid-course corrections, I was able to get a civilian job working out at the Air Force Base out of Eglin.
Okay.
And so then I got spent another 20 years as an Air Force civilian working out at Eglin. So that's my boys have moved on. My wife and I still live in the same house we moved into in 1979.
Right.
So we're having fun still in Fort Walton Beach.
Well, I'm wondering, is it fair to say that you've traveled extensively while in the military? Is that fair to say?
Well, yeah, I had not very many hardship assignments. I did travel a lot. We had 7, 8 assignments, and plus a lot of trips that the Air Force sent me on, unaccompanied. But yes, I mean, we even had spent 2 years in Fairbanks, Alaska, which is, for a guy coming from Southern California, was an interesting experience, just putting in, space heaters inside my car to keep the seats from cracking and things like that. So
wow.
Battery blankets on my battery, but that was a great time. And then
and that's not something that you experience quite often in California.
No. And my wife is from the Dayton, Ohio area, and so it got cold there. But both of us decided we liked the warm weather in Fort Walton Beach, and so we decided to stay here.
Well, I think it's an awesome thing, especially if you've traveled so extensively, that this is the place that you chose to call home. Having been in Fairbanks, which is beautiful, in Southern California, which is also beautiful, you had your pick of any place else to go. So that's really awesome that you chose this community. Are you still enjoying being here, living here?
Oh, yes, quite a bit. We have a lot of visitors down here from my family. We had a small reunion-like family get-together the first weekend in November, and my sister and brother came down from La Crosse, Wisconsin.
Whoa.
And so it was nice there at the time, but now they're suffering a little bit, and I keep sending them pictures of the beach that we took while they were down here, and it makes them mad, but that's their fault for staying up there.
Right, that's one of the beautiful things about our area.
Right, yep.
Now, after you retired from the military and you had your civilian employment, you made a jump, or you made a move from there to city council.
Yes. What happened, the boys moved on. They both eventually graduated from college, got their jobs, and they moved into the Tampa area. So my predecessor, Mayor Glenda Glover, had a a group of people that met once a month called the Mayor's Advisory Group. And I said that, and my wife and I were reading about it. She says, that looks like something you might enjoy. So her advisory group got together once a month and just sat around and had coffee in the morning and talked about, she bounced ideas off of us to see before she presented it to council. And one thing led to another. She says, you're really enjoying this. And I said, yeah. She said, well, you need to run for city council. I said, whoa, just a minute. So I waited a couple of years, and then in 2001, I did run for city council, and I got on the city council. But then in 2005, I was elected mayor, and then tried to work the civil service and the mayor thing at the same time. But as they say, my fund meter at the base was starting to peg out. So, and I was old enough, if you can believe that, to retire from civil service also, that I was able to then dedicate just to being the mayor. And because it was difficult trying to do all the things that I wanted to do as the mayor and still work, 8 hours a day at the base. So, so then in 2005, I, was successful in getting elected to be mayor for the first time. And the second time, nobody else wanted the job, so I was unopposed. And then the third time, back in 2013, I did have, again, a couple of opponents, but I was won again. And so this time I just said, okay, now that's enough. So
are you saying that you're going to retire after this?
I'll just stop being the mayor. I'm not going to retire.
Okay.
I'm too young to retire, so I have to find something else to do. Like, some of the things we'll talk about later on, advisory boards and things like that throughout the community.
Okay. Now, what I find, or what I wanted to talk about a little bit next, was you said that there were some things that you wanted to do and you couldn't balance the two. You wanted to really focus on your position here as mayor. So what were some of those things that you wanted to do?
Well, I think it was fortunate that I was able to go to events. So I sort of promoted myself as the ambassador of Fort Walton Beach instead of the mayor. I'd go to the Rotary, the Kiwanis, go to the military functions, travel through the Florida League of Cities, promoting our area. And like Mr. Wright in this landmark center, I've met with the different prospective builders and that over the years, talking about why they should build here, why they should come here. I've been very active with the Economic Development Council, meeting prospective businesses that want to move here. And I just to promote our area, because I think it's great, and I don't understand why more people don't think it's great. The overworked phrase. It's a place where 20,000 people live, but millions of people wish they did.
That's fantastic. I love that.
Right, and so that's that's what I've been doing, and we are growing. The city, even the downtown area, has turned around quite a bit, and there's been a lot of projects that have helped that from the standpoint of we have the Sound Side development, a 400-unit low and medium income residential area that's built up. We've consolidated the recreation centers. We have been able to use redevelopment agency funds to upgrade some of the communities around here, putting in sidewalks and streetscape and that kind of stuff in the different neighborhoods so that they get a little pride in the area. And then we're investing in downtown. So we're just and I think over the years people have noticed a difference about why it's now like it used to be, as they say. It took a while. There was a depressed time during when the housing market crashed, and people were hesitant to invest. But I think they're now starting to invest in Fort Walton Beach, not just downtown, but we have families that are now moving in, buying older homes, tearing them down, and building new homes. Because it's some of these homes have been around since the late 40s, early 50s, and so they're
really taking ownership and pride in the place that they live. I love that.
Yep, we're excited about that.
Well, since you're going to be with us for a little while longer as mayor, what else are you excited about? What are some things that are coming that you're excited about?
Well, I'm anxious to see how the Landmark Center goes and how that happens, and I think it's going to have a very synergistic effect from as people see this go, then maybe the businesses in the area will now start investing in their businesses too. And I envision the fewer and fewer vacant storefronts.
Right.
I'm excited about the potential in the landing, the park over there. We've got some money being invested in that we earn through the Restore Act from the BP oil spill. We're going to have millions of dollars to invest in it to upgrade the park to make it a little bit nicer venue for folks. We're looking at start redeveloping up Eglin Parkway. We've concentrated a lot on around 98, so there's the opportunity to go up 98 up Eglin Parkway to invest in some businesses and things like that. So all around here, it's going to be nice. And then just the fact that we've agreed to accept the old Gulfview Hotel and move it downtown. That just happened, the other evening.
Okay.
And so that's going to be a neat asset that we'll have right in the middle of downtown too.
I'm really excited about that particular thing. Yeah. Now, also, I know that you're involved in a few kids initiatives. You're involved in the Marine Institute for Kids as well as Take Stock in Our Children. What are those things?
Well, as the mayor, I got invited to attend these functions from friends who said, Mike, you need to come see what's going on with AMI Kids. And because a friend of mine, son was graduating through the program. And I said, this is neat. What is it? And they say, well, that's where we take kids who have had a little bit of a misstep in middle school or high school, that rather than just suspend them, it's a program where they can go to this school, still stay on track to get back on school. And it helps them get back on path. And they have a very, very good graduation rate. Not all of them high school graduation, but a lot of them through GED.
Oh,
and it's operating on a shoestring, so a lot of it, the time is spent in fundraising. But it's something that when the boys are still at home, my wife and I got in youth sports activities.
Right.
So it was just seeing these kids, and that set a sort of an interest, and I wish I could help in more ways, and that's how AMI Kids came about. And so then I talked to them and asked them if I could be on the board, and they said, we'd love to have you on the board.
Right.
And then while I was still working at the base, I was a mentor. I used to go to the elementary schools on base each year, and they would identify a young person who needed some, just a little special attention. And a lot of them were young people whose parents were deployed.
Right.
So it was a time just to sit down and talk about adult things, and some of them were sad stories, some of them were good stories, and most of them were good stories. So I was helping in that. And then I was approached, they said, what you need to do is get involved in Take Stock in Children, where you actually take on a young person in middle school all the way through high school. You stay with them for the whole 6 or 7 years. Now, I think it's a shorter period of time, but you're with them, you're mentoring them on a weekly basis in 30, 45 minutes to an hour, and you sit down and just work with them. And because at the end of the program, they earn a prepaid scholarship to go to a Florida school. So that's the contract they sign. If they behave, and maintain a very minimal grade point average, they will get a prepaid scholarship.
That's great.
And so that, again, helping the young folks are maybe a little bit at risk.
Right.
They were. You had to be on like the low income scale, prepaid breakfasts and that kind of thing program in middle school, so that you qualified to become a Take Stock. And there are some great kids in the program that just were struggling a little bit because they had to, their things at home weren't perfect circumstances for them to grow. And so it was a lot of fun. And so Blaine was the young man's name. I started with him because I was at the base. I started with him at Ruckel and went on with him and watched him graduate from Niceville High School.
That's
which was
very
cool.
good.
And he didn't even go on to college, though. He went into the design work. He wanted to go on website. He's really into computer stuff. He was doing a lot of videographing stuff for the school. Accidents can happen on skateboards if you do these things around the schoolyard. But he got into those kinds of things, so he got a lot of certifications while he was going to school, and that's what he went on and did. It wasn't necessarily, so he sacrificed his prepaid scholarship, but he continued on.
Right.
And for a kid whose parents were fighting over who should be their parent, so he ended up staying with his grandparents, and they didn't want him according to him, and so he had to take care of, raise his little brother. So he wasn't a very happy circumstance, but he always had a smile when we got together.
Very good. That really makes me happy. Yeah. I just want to say thank you so much for becoming involved with our most vulnerable population, which are going to be kids. And if you guys stay tuned, we're going to have Brenda Robinson from Families First Network, who's going to come on and talk to you a little bit more about our most vulnerable population, our children. And she's going to tell you how to be a foster parent. So stay tuned.